Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back. You know what time it is, you know what we do here. This is going to be a huge video for ExfilZone because the patch notes just dropped for wipe and they are massive. Definitely going to make the entire game harder. The healing is going to be harder as well as the gameplay loop itself. So let's get into that. The game has essentially fundamentally changed and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what is going to affect this game the most. But first, let's go through the patch notes and I'll give you my unfiltered opinion while we do that. First is a huge one, the maps. They have added a new map. We are all aware of that. It's going to be called Resort. It's a new map design with a focus on urban combat, which is sick. Urban combat is my favorite setting in any first-person shooters, especially extraction shooters. They have now required Metro to have a key card. Now, I'm surprised they're doing this, being that it might split the player base. People might not want to risk their gear to go into Metro, therefore making queue times getting into this map much longer. But we'll have to see how this works in an extraction shooter on VR like this. I think everybody knows by now that Metro is quite overpowered, and going in naked and getting a good gear set and getting out really quickly is quite easy on that map. So this is going to be crazy. I love that they've added another level of risk versus reward, and Metro is a badass map. It's such a great map and I'm going to feel very encouraged to want to play Metro because it's one of my favorite maps. But now there's this added risk versus reward. Airdrops have now been added to the map Suburbs, Dam, and Resort, which is really cool. Now all outdoor maps have these airdrops instead of just one. They are adding the safe containers. Now I know this is a controversial addition to the game, but keep in mind, after 1800 hours playing a game like Escape from Tarkov, it seems that ExfilZone is really going for exactly that Tarkov kind of thing. Personally, for me, I'm all for it. I love Tarkov. I think it's one of the most incredible games ever built. And the fact that these guys are going straight for that, but in an entirely VR experience, is so welcome and something I've been dreaming about since I got into VR in the first place. So in the functionality of these safe containers, items stored in safe container, including the container itself, will not be dropped upon death. Obviously, these are called safe containers for a reason. They can be equipped at the HQ via the relevant terminal on the lower back. Obtaining the initial safe container can be acquired by completing merchant tasks. So it looks like you're actually going to have to progress to get this container. I assume that eventually you'll have to progress to get bigger containers, because almost certainly these containers are going to only be able to hold very small items, whether you want to keep some super valuable ammo inside of it, which is like the meta in Tarkov, or if you find a very high value loot item such as a GPU or like a little gold statue or something like that. Now, safe containers do give newer players a chance to actually collect things. Even if you're dying over and over again, it still adds a sense of progression, but I would argue doesn't add too much to the meta when it comes to no lifers and sweats and people who are really good at the game, being that you can only fit such a few amount of things in there. Those people are going to get rich with or without a safe container. It's going to matter far more to a poor person that they progress using this safe container than it will ever matter to a high level Chad or sweat in this game. So don't fret too much. Safe containers aren't a big deal as long as they don't become crazy huge, or you can eventually buy with real money or have access to a really big one going into the future. We have to be very certain about that. Safe containers aren't necessarily overpowered, but we have to make sure they don't become that way, not only in their size but via in-game economy. So it looks like the headquarters function has been adjusted. I don't know why they're not calling it a hideout anymore. It looks like they're saying HQ, because I know that was their big thing. Don't call it a bunker, by the way. So the storage space has been redesigned. Weapon wall now supports mounting armor, helmets, and backpack, but cannot hold accessories. So that's pretty cool. It's just an extra place to put your armor. Shelves, helmets, backpack, and armor can no longer be placed on regular shelves, which makes sense because this was literally the meta before this update, is putting armors on top of armors on top of armors on a shelf. You could literally hold an unlimited amount of stuff. It degraded the sense of progression on opening up new doors and new areas inside of your now called headquarters, and I considered it just an exploit in the game. So that looks like that got fixed up. Dedicated storage boxes added new storage options, which is again straight from Tarkov, adding a item specific storage box such as medical items or accessory storage boxes. I assume they'll do this with food eventually and perhaps some other items in the future. Headquarters map redesign. New upgradable perks have been introduced. Some facility upgrades have been transferred or merged, which is good. This is going to adjust the entire balance of your progression. And it looks like they've already added to the entire gameplay loop itself by adding upgradable perks inside of the headquarters that we didn't have before. This is awesome. More things to do, more ways to progress in this game. Looks like they optimized the store purchasing experience. New feature for related items purchased, direct shipping added for streamlined delivery, which is good. I guess you won't have to go upstairs anymore. You can actually just get things right in the basement level of your headquarters. Magazine purchases. When buying magazines, you can now simultaneously purchase bullets, which I think means the magazines will come loaded this time. That's pretty crazy. I do have a lot of questions about this. You have an option to pick the type of caliber going into the magazine you're buying. I don't know. We'll have to see. This is a massive quality of life improvement, and I hope you can do just that. Looks like they redesigned the inbox, better UI. New temporary storage area has been added to the inbox itself, which might be different from the one you get in your kiosk when you complete missions and you get stuff and you get rewards and things like that. Looks like they're adding a career stat page, which is really cool. It might have a lot of stats like player kills, hours played, scavs killed, and all sorts of other little data points that you can compare with your friends. I think this is an extremely welcome feature, especially in such an early game like this. It's incredible the amount of shit that they're putting in here that kind of feels like finished game features. They have a ton of weapon related updates, such as 9 new weapon types, 8 of them being the G3 series type weapons, and one of them being a marksman rifle called the PSG, which is a 7.62 by 5.1. They added the HK slap for weapons like the MP5, the Evo 3, G3, PSG. When the charging handle is locked back, quickly hitting it with your hand releases the handle. AR bolt release slap for AR type weapons. When the bolt is locked, quickly hitting the bolt catch with your hand releases a bolt. This is for, if anybody doesn't know, you can actually slap the bolt catch on the left side of your weapon and the charging handle clicks into place. Really cool feature. It's something that I see in a lot of, I don't know, Call of Duty games and other flash screen games. Manual bolt lock when pulling back the bolt. Hold the BY key while releasing the charging handle to manually lock the bolt. That's really interesting. It looks like you can hold the bolt back even when you have ammunition in your magazine. Of course, that will eject around. That's a really cool feature that they put into a game that I've never seen actually put into a game before. That's honestly really neat. Of course, you can either slap the charging handle, slap the bolt release, or just pull back the charging handle to reset the charging handle for firing again. But that's so awesome they put this in a VR game. It's just another thing that makes these weapons feel completely real and immersive when you're playing. Accessory installation optimized the prompt effect for installation positions during assembly. So I assume they've adjusted this to make this a little less finicky, because sometimes it can be a little, you know, finicky and fucky as VR can be sometimes. I look forward to actually trying this out myself, so we'll see how much they've done with this. They've added a ton of new weapon accessories like the Falcon scope, the G3 scope, all having different rails. They have the 10, 20, and 30 round for the G3 series weapons. They have a 50 round drum mag for the G3 series weapons, one in black and one in olive. They have a PSG 1 scope rail and a Tapco scope 6 to 42 times for the PSG 1. Armor optimization improved the feel of attaching various pouches to armor. This is good. It looks like they've optimized all of that little finicky stuff when you're trying to build loadouts. A new character and bosses. Initial female characters. 2 new female characters are added. New bosses. 3 new bosses are introduced. Likely all going to be on the new resort map. That is a huge one, and here is another huge one. The total mission count has been increased from 96 to 150 with updated arrangements, new mission types. This is incredible because, again, they're adding a huge segment to the gameplay loop. This is going to add a massive amount of progression to that gameplay loop and a lot more things to do and to achieve to unlock more content that they're just adding to the game. I'm a huge fan of this, and the missions should feel almost endless in a way. It should feel like there's always something to do in an extraction shooter. There's always the next task. They've added a new mission type. Photo missions. Use a special device to photograph specific targets. Are these targets going to be alive? Are they going to be specific bosses that you need to take a picture of before you kill them or something? That would be very interesting, almost like Into the Radius, where you have to take a picture of specific enemy types while they're just trying to kill you. That would be a lot of fun and more than likely a pain in the ass. Placement missions. Locate a delivery spot in the scene and place specific mission items. Kind of like go here, do this, and then leave. Yep, another one of those types of missions for sure. And specific equipment kills. Eliminate a target using specific equipment or clothing combinations. Something that I am not a fan of. I hate it in Tarkov. I just think it's like an artificial challenge that they're putting into the game just to make it harder. And it really gives me like no reason to do this kind of stuff. Some of the rewards might be cool and people do like these mundane little challenges. So I'm not against it. I just don't like these. I just don't like these types of missions personally. It's like set up in Tarkov where you have to wear an Ionka and like a scav vest with a shotgun on customs. It's totally stupid and I fucking hate that mission. And I never even bothered doing it last wipe. Now here here is another huge one that you want to hear about. This new medical system that's happening. It looks like they've really overhauled some medical items and your health system. They added a new status effect, the deep wound, causing continuous loss of health and hydration while active. Can be permanently removed with advanced bandages or suture device. Another huge thing that they're adding is a cap on your limb health. If your limbs get blacked out, your total limb health will go down, even though you repair all the statuses done to that limb. This is something that's actually in Tarkov, where you can't just keep getting shot up like Swiss cheese and doing surgery on yourself and being completely healed. This will actually add a lot more difficulty to the game if you are a sponge like me who just gets shot all the time. This is a massive thing straight from Tarkov and probably will be controversial for this game, but I'm so used to it in Tarkov, I actually like it. It adds more depth to the system. It makes it so unskilled players such as myself can't just get shot up all the time and just heal constantly. There are some situations where you can be running around a map and just looting the whole place and staying in it for as long as you want, getting shot over and over again and just healing. I've seen people do this where they're bringing in tons of meds and just running around the map looting the whole place, and it doesn't matter how injured they are because they can just do surgery and heal bleeds whenever they want. Putting a cap on this health that actually lowers every time you black out a limb is going to be great for balancing this sort of meta, even though it's going to cause the game to be slightly more difficult in my opinion. Pairing a limb with it reduces limb's maximum health, of course, and the effects of this of course will clear up when returning to the HQ, so getting out of raid. It looks like they have a durability display as a sort of level on consumables such as painkillers, healing syringes. Of course, you'll want to use your Mika scanning device to get more details on those specific things, and special effects syringes, they have adjusted the quality on some of those. They have added new bandages, a gauze, old bandage, heals bleeding, a normal bandage, heals bleeding and deep wounds, but is bulky. Advanced bandages, heals bleeding and deep wounds effectively. So maybe the difference between the bandage and the advanced bandage is the advanced bandage just isn't bulky. They have added a new status effect to getting injured, the deep wound. It causes continuous loss of health and hydration while active, can be permanently removed with advanced bandages or a suture device. This is similar to when your stomach is blacked out. You will lose hydration and energy while there's a gaping hole in your stomach. It looks like this deep wound effect can be applied to any limb now, which will make ExfilZone a more hardcore experience. And we got some more details on the new suture devices. Level 1 has 2 uses, 8-second time use, and reduces the current health by a max of 50%. That is an insane amount. You definitely don't want to use level 1 suture devices because your total health will get capped by 50% if you use them. That's quite crazy. But the level 2 suture device has 3 uses, 7 seconds of use time, and only reduces your current health by 25%, which is still quite a lot. And level 3 has 6 uses, 6 seconds of use time, reduces current health max by only a maximum of 10%. So I can imagine they are very valuable, and those are the ones you're going to want to be using. They have 3 levels of painkillers now. Level 1 being 3 uses, 120 seconds duration, and negative 0.2 hydration for 90 seconds, total of 18 points. Level 2 is 6 uses, 120 seconds of duration, negative 0.2 hydration per second for 60 seconds, a total of 12 points. And level 3, 6 uses, 180 seconds duration, which is really good. Only negative 0.1 hydration per seconds for 60 seconds, a total of only 6 points. So yes, the level 3 healing items are going to be extremely valuable and raise your chances of living in a raid far more. It looks like they added about 30 new miscellaneous items, 10 new valuable items, spawn optimization, improved the item spawn experience, and now the AI now have backpacks and drop items. That is also huge. I want to give you guys my unfiltered opinion of what I think about this. Yes, ExfilZone is going to feel far more hardcore because of these changes. The health, having a barrier to entry to go into Metro, and making it so better healing items are going to be harder to get because there's going to be an abundance of level 1 healing items. That being said, they just added 10 new valuable items and a spawn chance optimization, which I don't know if whether or not that actually improves rare item spawn chances. This is essentially a nerf to your start game experience. You're going to be more broke. It's going to be harder to do things. That is going to lengthen the gameplay loop, and they've also increased the end game experience by adding more valuable items for you to loot and use to help you survive in a raid. The gameplay loop with this update goes both ways, stretching it far more and giving far more value to the game because the game is going to be longer now. You're going to have more things to do, which is incredible. This game already had a lot to it, but now this has more. With the new deep wound status, I believe this puts us at a Tarkov level of health debuffs when you are getting injured. In Tarkov, you have breaks, light bleeding, heavy bleeding, blacked out limbs. In ExfilZone, you're going to have light bleeding, heavy bleeding, blacked out limbs, and a deep wound effect, which replaces the broken bone effect in Tarkov. I guess that this is just some way that they're going to have that. So this is going to be far more light like Tarkov. You're playing ExfilZone, you kind of wonder what Tarkov's main features are like. Yeah, look no further. ExfilZone is certainly very close to a Tarkov-like experience, but in VR. Personally, I've been sick and fucking tired of VR recently, but this update is huge and it is absolutely going to be something that brings me back. I definitely want to try this update and progress and see how this goes, because I'm also sick and tired of Tarkov, but I still want to play a game that's Tarkov, and this game has probably done the best out of any other game trying to emulate Tarkov. Of course, you have Arena Breakout Infinite, and they've gotten pretty close, but I don't like a lot of things about that game, like buying end game ammo with real money. I think it's just a ridiculous thing to add to an ecosystem and extraction shooter, and I hope to fuck they don't do that with ExfilZone. God, I hate poor monetization practices that ruin games, because trust me, that kind of stuff absolutely does. Another thing I want to mention that I don't actually see here in these patch notes is they've added a bank vault on the new map. The bank looks to be in the center of the map, and you'll have to go down there, likely fight a boss or two, and get into the bank and steal a bunch of money. I think that's going to be an incredible part to the gameplay loop that you can do over and over and over again that has nothing to do with the missions. Let me reiterate, it probably will have something to do with a mission or several, but of course will be something that you can continue doing even after the missions are done. Guys, clearly I am blown away by the amount of things in this update, not only because of the amount of content, but because I understand what this content means. A lot of it is from Tarkov and adds a huge amount of feel to Tarkov itself, and is going to do the same with this game. These are huge features that are multifaceted, that are going to affect many levels in ExfilZone, and I currently am quite excited to experience it and jump back in this wipe. Ladies and gentlemen, wipe is here, so hop in, experience these many game-changing features that they've added, and enjoy this game. It looks incredible, and I for one can't wait to jump back in. Thank you for being here, and have yourselves a very nice day.